I think a lot of my own sort of uncomfortability, is that a word? Hello and welcome back to Microcosm. This is the YouTube channel where I talk about anything and everything to do with music that I'm interested in talking about, mainly album reviews. And today I'll be looking at Royce the 5'9's latest album, the Allegory. Royce the 5'9 is an artist that is probably best known for his association and his features with Eminem. He's always seen as a quote-unquote underground rapper from Detroit, and yeah, he has been half of Bad Meets Evil along with Eminem. He's also a quarter of the definitely failed rap group Slaughterhouse, which was set up by Eminem again, with that connection. So yeah, he's always sort of been this guy that has been very, very, very closely associated with Eminem. He's always been on pretty much all of his major projects in some way, shape or form, whether that's through producing or quite a lot recently through features. Despite all the Eminem links and his association with Eminem, Eminem doesn't really feature like at all in this. He's only got like an interlude, or you can say a track on this just for himself, and that's fair enough. But despite all that, I can say this album actually starts off on quite a good note with Mr. Grace, which is the audio of a video that Derek Grace and his daughter did. I believe it was meant to be a YouTube video, and it starts off quite sweet and it's quite nice as a track. But I think what really makes it quite endearing is that it just sounds like a father trying to look out for their child, and that's what I really love about the track. But I wish that it was split up into two, because you've got this interlude section at the beginning, and then all of a sudden you've got Royce going on and talking about his own slightly controversial opinions and his thought process and everything like that. Royce's verse does make him sound a little bit paranoid, but you can sort of expect that with the themes and the topics that he sort of raises throughout this entire album, and that are raised within the first section of the interlude, which is really not a surprise of the topics that Royce would usually talk about. It's something that he feels comfortable with, obviously, because they are usually his go-to topics of guns and violence and drugs and everything like that. So I'm not really surprised. I wasn't really surprised looking at that and saying, okay, this is what he's going to talk about. He does sound a little bit paranoid, a little bit hypocritical at times, and other things that aren't really the best trait to have in an album, and sort of put me at a bit of an awkward situation whenever I'm listening to it. Like, oh, okay, if this is what you believe in, cool, that's his opinion. But at the same time, it's a bit like, do you have something to back this statement that you're saying up? Do you have the evidence to back yourself up in these cases? But he tries to push this whole census that vaccinations lead to such disabilities like autism, like what happened with his child, and he is blaming the vaccination on the disability of his child. And fair enough, that's his opinion, and that's what he definitely believes, and that's what and he's gone through several steps and he's experienced certain things that have led him to believe that. But then when you look at the actual evidence from science, almost 99.9% of evidence says otherwise. Throughout the album, Royce talks a lot about race and the issues with race, and he keeps bringing this whole topic up. But he does sound quite hypocritical, especially in songs like Pendulum, where he goes on one verse talking about his racist co-workers or his racist white boss, and then in the next verse uses a racial slur. It's like just that hypocrisy that I'm not really understanding on how you can say, oh, racism is bad, and then straight away go and call somebody something racist. It just doesn't make sense to me. Why would you do that? I'm a bit lost on that. The Mrs. Grace interlude is nowhere near as nice or as innocent as the Mr. Grace intro at the beginning, simply because it really shows and reflects on probably how Royce and Derek Grace view parenting and view the state of America in a sense. I mean, I'm not a parent, but even I wouldn't give rounds to my child and say, oh, you've got to identify this, or even go as far as what he does in this is to literally give the child every single potential hazard or negative thing that can come into her life, including sex offenders and stuff like that. I wouldn't exploit or expose my child to that, especially at such a young age where she seems like she's 7 or 8 years old. I think more than anything in this album, Royce comes off as petty, and I say that because the songs like on Overcomer, where he needlessly puts in a diss to Yellow Wolf, one of his his ex-friends and his ex-collaborator, and then in the next song, Thou Shall, he again needlessly gives a Lady Gaga diss because of her nose and about the size of her nose, and it's like, do you really need that to be in there? It doesn't really do much for the song. Yes, it may add a little bit of humor, but at the same time, it's pointless. Why go there? Why go that route? And on the song Thou Shall, like, I get some sort of homophobic, possibly even transphobic, but definitely toxic masculinity vibes. Not just on this song, but also on a few others, just because of a few lines here and there. And I'm not a fan personally. There is a line on this album though where I just can't get over it. And that is on the song On the Block, where Royce says, I'm cold enough to go on a date with December the 8th. What the f? Every way that I've tried to understand it, it just doesn't make sense. If it's like the coldest day in America or whatever, it still doesn't make sense because, well, it doesn't make sense, but it's just a really, really crap line, isn't it? Despite me not really rating a lot of the songs on here, there are moments where I do really enjoy the production and what Royce does with the entire engineering and producing of the song, and that really happens on songs like I Don't Age, Black Savage, Upside Down, and Young World, where the production just seems to be perfect, and even the delivery of whoever is on that song, whether it be Royce or a featured artist, just fits perfectly and everything works so well. I do really enjoy the ice cream interlude that is on this album. It is just a nice and quite educational interlude, to be fair. I think it's probably the most educational interlude I've heard in years. Talking about the history of the famous ice cream song that everybody knows, that every ice cream truck, every ice cream van plays whenever it's going down the streets. And yeah, it's really interesting. It does teach you something, and it's quite funny as well. So I do also love the song Upside Down. It's a song that I was really, really looking forward to including into my songs I slept on, or slept on songs, for February, which is coming out in a few days, hint hint. But I would have loved the entire album to be filled with songs of similar quality, but it feels like the latter half of the album is better than the first half. Definitely the last 5-6 songs are probably you probably get some of the best cuts in this entire album. The skip perspective is probably the best thing that Eminem has done for years. It's a 2-minute basically interlude that is basically Eminem talking about what he believes is the impact of black culture on society and on music, cultural appropriation, racism, and it's so informative, so educational as well, and it's just it gives you such a good vibe, especially coming from a person of color. It just makes you feel that little bit like, oh yeah, you know what, he's acknowledging it, and it's so powerful, especially looking at it as he's talking about other cultures profiting from what black people have done and what black culture has done for the world. And it's so impactful because Eminem is somebody that has profited and has made such a big impact in the world through the culture that black people built up. So having that and seeing that he has profited from this, and even he has the sympathy and the empathy to take a step back and look at how, not really how he's exploited the market, but how he has used it in a sense and profited and really excelled in life because of it, and saying that this is a credit that some people deserve, this is a credit that the culture deserves, is really impactful, because I've heard it on songs before, but it's never been as clear cut, as straightforward, and as basic as this in a sense. This is just basically him literally telling you, rather than in other songs where you have to sort of sieve it through like loads of filters and trying to find out what they're trying to say, or people just don't really understand it because they're too caught up in the beat. With this, there's pretty much no beat whatsoever. It's just Eminem talking to you straight up and telling you this is the case, this is what is happening, and this is the deal. That is it, and that's what I love about this, especially, as I said, from a middle-aged white man who has profited from the industry. Talking about this is, I think, is vital. Tricked in the following interlude, Black People in America, are two songs or two cuts that really encapsulate the entire record, in my opinion, because they are sort of the best of both worlds. You get the best of pretty much straight up facts and Royce rapping and everything is fine, and then you've also got all of his conspiracy theories and his deep thoughts and whatever he's really thinking, which creates one heck of a mixed bag, because on one hand you've got Royce talking about the hardships of growing up in a rough neighborhood or being in a rough neighborhood, seeing friends and innocent people die, whether they're being shot or being caught in the crossfires of gangs or whatever, and also talking about the reality of actually being famous, making it in life, making it or reaching a goal, and what actually happens when you get to that stage. Whereas on the other hand, you've also got him talking about, again with the vaccinations, and then also talking about how sort of reliant America is on black people, which to an extent I get where he's trying to come from, and saying that, okay, if we were to take off or take out everything that black people have ever contributed to America, where would you be? You wouldn't be as far as you are now, which, fair enough, I can't really agree or disagree because I don't know the facts. But it doesn't really send that sort of message across with the whole conspiracy theories of black people and stuff. It just doesn't work for me. That connection isn't easily made, especially when you're listening to it on your first, second, maybe even third listen. So I feel like he could have probably written that or wrote that section a little bit better. But apart from that, I do feel it's a half decent track, and that's literally because of the half of the track that is based on facts and is based off of basically proof. On the track My People Free, I feel like Royce should have really stuck with whatever Ashley set up, because she did a great job in the chorus and her verse in setting up the story and the topic of the issues that are happening in America between the US and Mexican border, with immigration, people trying to cross the border, and also the detention camps that are basically there, and the cells essentially that they have set up, and how they are giving this whole, whilst they're giving the world and the masses that the news that everything is fine, it's not near as bad as people think, and they're hiding the truth, which I feel like if Royce was to keep going down that path, it would have made an absolutely amazing song. But he went back to sort of stick to his guns, stick to what he's good at, and go back to talking about guns and the whole gang lifestyle and stuff like that. And there's not a big disconnect, because both of the stories that they both tell lead basically perfectly with the chorus and the name of the track, and even the short intro. I think it's like "Let My People Free" or "Let My People Go" at the beginning, but it just, I feel like the song had so much more potential to be better than what it is now. The drums on the beginning of the final track, Hero, do remind me a bit of Blueface's Thotiana. Every time that song starts, I always think Thotiana's about to start playing. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Tell me what you think, what you like, what you dislike. What are your opinions on this album? Your best parts, worst parts, anything in between. What do you want me to review next? Everything like that down below. Hit the like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell. Follow me on the socials, and yeah, I will see you again next time, I guess. See yous. Upside down, the lies. Upside down.